All right, y'all. So today I want to talk about a question that I've been getting a lot recently from a lot of my followers, a lot of my just like friends, people I know at the gym. And I'm sensing like a trend amongst a variety of people. And I'm seeing like a misconception when it comes to like fitness and like how to actually change your body that's really holding people back. So I'm at the gym the other day. A guy comes up to me, he goes, yo, like, I see your videos, bro. You motivate me, man. It's just like, yeah, I've been trying to do a cut for a while now. I've been bulking for 3 years. I've been trying to cut, but like, whenever I start cutting, I start losing strength. I start feeling smaller, and like, it just demotivates me. And then I revert back to my baseline. I start eating again, so I get scared to get the strength back. And like, I was thinking, I was like, yo, like, you play any sports? He's like, yeah, like I used to hoop. And I was like, okay, me too. It's like the way you're operating is almost like, you know, you're playing basketball, right? You drive down the lane and you're not sure if you should shoot or if you should pass. You're stuck in two minds. And anyone that ever played basketball, you know that always leads to a turnover. It's like you're turning the ball over in the gym because you can't commit to a direction, right? See, fitness is so simple. Like, people love to overcomplicate it. It's so simple. All it is about commitment to a direction and having an optimized system that guarantees that you make the right inputs day in, day out in that direction, right? And so if you're someone that starts the cut, you lose the strength, which is inevitable, you start to look worse because when you start cutting, the first weight you lose is glycogen. Start eating less food. And so glycogen is how your body stores water and carbs in your muscles. So your muscles almost start to deflate, but you're still fat. So you lose strength and you look worse because you're deflated but still fat. You have less energy, and that can, depending how fat you are, that can go on for like weeks, right? And so if you get to that stage, the funny thing is that first stage that you're in, right, in that point, that's the hardest part of the whole thing. And so you've almost got to the end of it. You do 2 weeks of a cut, and now you revert back to the baseline. You go back to eating, to maintenance, to try and get big again because you're scared, but you're just staying in the same place because you can't just delay that gratification to get through that first hump, right? It's like, I always say this, unless you're really, really fat, which is like above 20% body fat. If you're a woman, maybe like 30 actually for a woman, body fat. Unless you're that fat, you can literally do whatever you want, right? I would advise you to cut until, if you're a man, about 12% body fat to reset your insulin sensitivity. But honestly, if you're between 12% and like 18% body fat, you can literally do whatever you want, right? It all depends on what you want, right? Like, long term, we all want to look lean and have more muscle, right? That's the goal for most people in the gym. But it has to be done in phases. So if I was talking to, I was actually in the DMs today talking to someone, and they were sending me their physique, and I was like, yo, you can literally do whatever you want. How do you want to look in 16 weeks, right? 16 weeks is usually the number I use to determine, like, to say, like, that's the amount of time you need to make serious change to your body, 16 weeks. So 16 weeks from now is like June 1st, right? It's around June. Do you want to be your most shredded and lean June 1st and have less muscle? Or do you want to be as muscular as you've ever been June 1st, but have a bit more body fat? You would still have like June, July, and a bit of August to cut before the end of summer, but you wouldn't be like your most shredded at the start of the summer. But regardless, even if you do that bulk to June, you're still gonna have to cut eventually because you're gonna get leaner again to get bigger again, right? It's an up-down process, right? And so the lack of commitment to a direction is what holds most people back in the gym. Even outside of bulking and cutting, like, even just like a commitment to like a workout plan, to a workout routine. You can't even commit to an exercise because you can't figure out how to connect with the muscle within the first 2 times you try the machine. You know what I mean? Like, it takes time for anything, to adjust to anything, right? The commitment is what holds most people back. And it's like, another thing that holds people back, right? Besides the fact that you can't decide whether to bulk or cut is, you know, the actual process. Like, what is the system? What are the foundations you outline in that process, right? So I actually made a reel about this recently, talking about how, you know, fitness is like, it's like a business, right? And the guys that have like the mediocre physiques, the guys that take longer to get to their goals, they treat it like a 9 to 5, right? So for a 9 to 5, you clock into work, right? You go to work, you do your shift, and like, unless you perform really badly, you're not gonna lose your job, right? You can just go in, and as soon as you leave the workplace, you can totally take your mind off work, right? And the people that execute the gym and fitness like that, they never get anywhere because you have to treat it like a business. And so before you go into any period, right, whether it's a bulk or a cut, think as it like, for example, like a business. Okay, you're trying to merge with another company, right? You wouldn't just go into that and just say, you know what, let's do it like without any game plan. Like the game plan and the strategy is 95% of the work, right? And so going into a bulk and just saying like, yeah, I'm gonna eat more food and I'm gonna get stronger, that is the ultimate recipe to get fat. I've done it before, right? You start eating whatever, your appetite, you get used to eating more food, you get used to eating these highly palatable foods, right? Foods that are easy to eat, fast food, candy, ice cream. Your weight starts going up, you get excited, but you have no control over how fast your weight is going up, right? And the more highly palatable foods you eat, bad foods, junk foods you eat, the more you're slowing down your insulin sensitivity, right? So that's basically how efficient your body is at using the nutrients you eat to build muscle, right? So the more fat you eat, the more unhealthy you eat, the worse that becomes. And so that's going into a bulk with no plan, and you're gonna end up, even if you commit to it, you're gonna end up in a bad place, right? So the right way to structure a bulk is to find out your maintenance calories, right? Now, there's various websites you can do that. If you just type in maintenance calorie calculator, entering your stats, it will tell you how to do that, right? But those are like just pretty much guesswork, right? It's based on the various factors, how active you are, your age, your height, your weight. But you're gonna have to experiment, right? You're gonna have to eat whatever number that is for a bit, your maintenance calories. If your weight goes up when you eat that number, that means that it's above your maintenance calories, so you have to adjust. If your weight starts to go down, that means it's below your maintenance calories. So you wanna find your maintenance calories, and then we wanna compose a diet like this. So on a bulk, the main thing that drives muscle gain is not food, right? It's actually mechanical tension, your ability to lift more weight. And so we want to structure our diet in a way that allows us to lift more weight. So carbs, right? Carbs are the main energy source. So we want to get our protein to be at a pound per gram of body weight, a gram per pound of body weight. So if we're 200 pounds, we want to put our protein at 200 grams. Then we want almost the 90% of the rest of our calories to go to carbs, right? Carbs are going to be the majority of it, and then fat is going to be that last 5 to 10%, or 5%-ish usually. But it's the carbs that matter the most. And so when we want to go on a bulk, we want to take that maintenance calories, we want to increase the calories slightly. I would say start at 100 to 200, nothing more than that. And all those calories should literally be carbs. I'm not playing. It usually comes out to being, 100 grams more of like rice before your workout, 100 grams more after your workout, but it's literally just pushing carbs, right? We're using and manipulating carbs to get more energy for our workout. That is how you bulk. Most of the time when people bulk, this is for me, this is for many of my clients, you actually do not even need to change that number of calories you're eating throughout the whole process. I'm telling you, that is the way to lean bulk. Some people would even tell you that you don't even need to eat in a surplus. You can literally eat at your maintenance calories. And if you're really, really dialed in with your training, your sleep, your recovery, you can actually put on muscle and bulk at your maintenance calories. And that's how you do a lean bulk, right? So that's the system at a high level of what you should be doing going into a bulk. If you have that system, as well as lifting the right way, right? Tracking your lifts, making sure you're actually lifting the weight with a target muscle. If you have that system set up, you can go into a bulk and fully commit to that process, right? And get the good results. You're gonna put on a little bit of body fat, but it's gonna be minimal. And so it's gonna be easier for you to stay committed because you're not gonna put on a ton of body fat super early and feel like you need to do a cut all of a sudden, right? It's getting hot in this car, man, damn. I don't know if you guys can hear this AC if I put it on. I don't wanna mess up the audio. Put the AC on a little bit. It's the winter in Edmonton, so I'm surprised it's getting hot. I think I'm getting super, excited about this video. But yeah, so that's how you set up a bulk, right? And then for a cut, it's actually pretty similar, but yeah, it's very similar. Like we want our calories, just like in a bulk, we want our calories to be as close to our maintenance as possible while still losing weight. So again, your maintenance calories, right? The protein does not change. The protein number is always going to be very close to or equal to your body weight in pounds, right? On a cut, we're going to keep the fat the same. The fat doesn't change either. The fat is what regulates your hormones. So we don't want our fat to be zero, but we don't want it to be super high because it slows down digestion. And like each gram of fat you eat is just worth more calories than a gram of protein or carbs, okay? So our fat stays the same, our protein stays the same. We're gonna manipulate our carbs again, right? And so we're gonna drop our carbs. What does that mean? I said before, carbs always means that we use carbs for energy, right? And so when you reduce your carbs on your cut, you're gonna feel more lethargic, right? You're not gonna feel as like speedy, as sharp, both mentally and physically in the gym. You're not gonna feel the same. You might get lightheaded. And so that's the reason why we don't wanna drop our carbs and our calories so low to start off with. People do it. If you have a trip in a month, right? You're going to have to take a more extreme approach to your cut than if you're doing it more long term. It's always less sustainable, but you drop your carbs, right? So you lose that energy, that mental focus, all that starts to drop. At the same time, because we're dropping our carbs, we're now gonna start losing some glycogen, right? And glycogen is what gives us that fullness in our muscles. And so, again, you're gonna look worse before it gets better. Your muscles are not gonna be as full, your pumps are not gonna be as full, but at the start, you're still gonna be a bit more fat. And so your muscles are not full, they're not pushing against your skin. It's gonna be more of the fat you see. It's gonna feel more soft, it's gonna feel less tight. And so a combination of that feeling, that look, and the loss of strength, loss of focus, causes people to go the other way. But if your deficit, the amount of calories you are below your maintenance, is smaller, you're now less likely to experience an extreme, effect in terms of that loss of fullness, strength, and lethargy, right? So that's another example. And again, in the gym, it's all about training the same way, right? You're not gonna hit PRs, but the goal is each set is almost like a fight for your life. You're fighting to maintain your strength, because the more strength you maintain, the more muscle you're gonna maintain, and the better you're gonna look at the end of your cut, right? So that's the system for both a bulk and for a cut. Once you have that set up properly and you have, good guidance around, the training, the setup there, the meals, the sleep, you can fully commit to that process and not be that indecisive person that continuously flip-flops between both phases. Those are how you set up the systems, but at the end of the day, it's all about delayed gratification. Like, are you willing to commit to the process, knowing that you might get a little bit more fat, not look as good, knowing that you might lose some strength, not look as good, but eventually the end goal has to be in sight, right? That end goal, like, it's all about having the eye on the prize, right? Like, if you have an end goal and a system set up, people holding you accountable, you're way less likely to flip-flop, right? But it's the indecisiveness, the lack of commitment, and the fear of having to wait for that delayed gratification that really holds people back. Like, I know so many guys that have been in the gym lifting the same weights for so long because at their end goal is they want to get lean, they want to be shredded, they want to look better, but like their ego won't allow them to, drop the weights a little bit. Except that to lose that weight, to lose that fat, you're gonna have to lose some strength. You're gonna have to lose some size and fullness. And so if they had done that just like a year ago, by now they'd already be stronger than they are now and leaner. But their ego just holds them back, man. That indecisiveness. That's the main thing that holds people back. You can have the best work ethic, you can have the best genetics, but if you do not commit to a process, fitness doesn't move, right? And it's those daily inputs that you orchestrate through a system, the meals, the workouts, the structure. That's what pushes you towards that end goal, right? If not, you're gonna be flip-flopping, you're gonna be indecisive, and you're gonna stay the same.